So this is pretty amazing. Why don't why don't we check this out together? This was the Stop the Steal Republicans fundraising haul for the first quarter of 2021. So let's check that out. So there you see, they're raking in cash. They're raking in money. First and foremost, if you're a regular working person, stop giving your money to politicians. Okay, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, whatever. They don't care about you if you're a regular working person. Okay? Stop giving them your hard-earned money. Now, if you have plenty of money to spend, whatever, do what you will with it. If you're a working person, stop doing that. Okay? That's not worth it. It's just simply not worth it. Okay? You're not getting enough of a return for the money that you're spending, especially if you're already strapped for cash. All these prices are inflating. Your standard of living is going to be lowered, especially considering they don't want to raise your wages or anything like that. Right. So overall, yeah, just stop giving your money to politicians. Furthermore, you see that the Republicans, they didn't really lose a whole lot of steam, right? We thought there was going to be more of this internal civil war, and maybe that hasn't, really came to the forefront yet because the midterms aren't quite here yet. But they're building up a lot of steam. Okay, they're building up a lot of steam, and it's the Stop the Steal Republicans that are the most popular. And so this is what we were warning about, right? This is why we're pushing the Democrats so hard in this moment to actually legislate well, not incremental changes here or there, doing small things that, maybe in 5-10 years, people are really going to start feeling the effects. No, you need to do this now, right? Because you already have a disadvantage come 2022, especially considering Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema and these conservative Democrats don't want to do anything with the filibuster. So you're not going to be able to get any, of the legislation passed that's going to be able to stop the Republicans from gerrymandering and redistricting. That's going to already put the Democrats at a disadvantage, especially in the House. So if all things, stay the same, the Republicans already have a huge advantage to take back the House just because of the redistricting, how the maps work, and all the gerrymandering and all that bullshit. So the Democrats need to start stepping up. And this is why we're pushing progressives so hard right now, because you feel like you're doing good things and, you're getting these incremental changes passed. But how are you going to go to voters in 2022 and say, oh, I know you were struggling really, really bad. But what, the American Rescue Plan, you got that one-time check, right? They're like, you mean that one-time check that went straight to my landlord? And then I continue to, live on the margins, and live on the brink of being evicted, or, that the whole eviction crisis is going to be coming pretty soon here. So there's a lot that's going to be happening in these next 2 years before the midterms. So, for all the, MSNBC and Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes and CNN and everyone saying, oh, these, right wing politicians are so crazy, so beyond the pale. That might be all fine and true, but That's not convincing any of these Republican voters to stop supporting them. It's not convinced. So you actually need to legislate well and do enough for those people, whether they voted for you or not. You have to do enough for their lives that they say, take a step back and say, whoa, maybe these policies I actually do like. Whatever Newsmax and Fox is telling me, that's all fine and good, but what my bank account is telling me is that these policies are actually looking out for me. Maybe I'll reconsider who I'm supporting. That's the only way you're going to get through to these Republican voters, because even after January 6th, right, even after Donald Trump, even after all that, they're further entrenching their support with the Republican Party. So, this is really just, an early signal and an early warning that come 2022, these Republicans are gaining a lot of steam. They're raising all this money in a non-election year. We're more tribalized than ever. So it's just further entrenching their support with that party. If all you do is talk about how they're so bad, but you don't actually legislate in a way that makes them overlook that brainwashing, right? That makes them overlook all that propaganda and say, whoa, my bank account, at the end of the day, I have to survive. At the end of the day, I'm trying to, thrive and better my life, better the life for my family. So, whether Fox News and Newsmax and all these people are telling me this and that, well, my bank account is telling me something different. And that's how you attract those voters. That's how you go through the brainwashing, through the propaganda. Very similar to Medicare for all, right? Very similar to that. Because, there's so much propaganda. MSNBC would come on there and tell you that you shouldn't support this policy because, it's too expensive. There's no way for us to do it, et cetera, et cetera. It's not feasible, even though the rest of the developed world does it. But even though despite them doing that, it's still massively popular. Why? Because people understand how much they're getting screwed, and people can just take a look at Canada, Germany, the UK, pretty much any other developed country and say, well, no, that system looks better. So despite all this bullshit propaganda, I might even still watch it. A lot of people still watch those shows, but they don't, when it comes to that point, they're like, okay, I'm seeing past this. I still want to support Medicare for all, even though this talking head is telling me I shouldn't support it. So that's how you have to get to them. That's the only way. That's the only way that's going to work, because just screaming and yelling into the void on cable news about it, and complaining about it obviously is not working. That's obviously not doing anything. So I just wanted to show you all this because, like I said, this is an early signal, an early warning that in 2022, these people have a lot of support and will have a lot of steam. And after 2 years of an underwhelming administration, just like in 2009, 2010, what do you think is going to happen? So then what are the Democrats going to do? They're going to complain and be so upset because they lost their majority and now they can't do anything because the Republicans are just going to obstruct, and they're just going to go on TV and complain. And all the while your life will continue to get worse. Prices will continue to rise. Your wages will still stay stagnant. Right? They're probably not going to pass this pro-union legislation. So you're not going to be able to unionize in your workplace, or you're going to have Amazon spending hundreds of millions of dollars on consultants. Instead of just paying their workers more, they're going to just pay consultants to make sure you can't unionize. That's going to continue to happen, right? So after 2 years of that, what do you think people are going to do? And when Democrats lose, it's because there's a depressed turnout. And why is there depressed turnout? Because there's 2 years of an underwhelming administration who promised all these great things, but your standard of living is either staying the same or it's continuing to be lowered because of all these rising prices. So just a warning. I don't want to have to say I told you so, because I actually want them to legislate well and help people's lives to get improved. And so you can stave off the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Tom Cottons and the Ted Cruzes and all these, crazy right-wing neo-fascist types. That's what I would like to see. But based on past evidence, I can't go out there and say that's going to happen. I don't want to give anyone false hope. So that's just a fair warning to all.